Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have a friend of mine, Nibs from Walnut and Steel. He is a
Hey, everybody.
prolific gun tuber with over 2,000 videos on YouTube. He shoots airsoft guns as well as at 22s, and that's how we kind of got in contact. As we like to shoot a lot of the similar 22s. So
Yep.
happy to have him on tonight, Nibs. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Jeremy, for letting me come on and discuss some 22s with you.
Absolutely. So we were kind of talking the other day, about what we might want to discuss, and we kind of narrowed down to a couple of rifles that we both have. One of them's a little bit more rare, and then another one is one that a lot of people will be familiar with.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the Savage 19 NRA Match or the Savage 23. There's a lot going on with that one, and then we'll talk about the Remington 572 Fieldmaster. So, Nibs, why don't you, first of all, why don't you tell people that aren't familiar with you and your channel, kind of how you got into shooting all these 22s and what started your collection?
Well, I grew up shooting a Mossberg 142 BA or 146 BA. Sorry, it's a tube feed made in about the mid 50s. It was actually my dad's gun. And as I was growing up, I shot that thing. I probably shot 5,000 rounds out of it when I was a teenager, at least. And I actually still have that gun. I thought about getting it out before I started the thing up, but we'll have that in another video.
Yeah.
But yeah, I shot that for forever and ever, and then actually my father passed away, and my uncle inherited that gun, and then years later, my uncle actually passed away, and I asked my aunt if I could get that back, and so I still have that here. So I'm really happy to have that, but.
Yeah.
I had that and a couple other guns. I really didn't get into collecting until maybe about 15 years ago. I actually had an old single shot shotgun, and a friend of mine had an old Remington 22. Turned out to be a 41P, which is a really cool gun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he said, I really like that shotgun. You want to trade for this 22? And I traded it, and I really liked it. It's a really accurate gun, and just
Yeah.
started, one after another, getting them and collecting them. And before that, I had gotten into milsurp stuff a little bit and had a couple of Mosins, a couple of Mausers and stuff like that. And then when I realized they had, like the Savages, the NRA is kind of a military style gun. And then I started realizing they had military trainers. I just kind of went crazy with those too. So, but it's a lot of fun. And
Yeah. And
just neat.
how long have you been on YouTube now?
Uh, Actually, I was just looking back. My oldest video on YouTube is about 12 years ago. And it had nothing to do with firearms. My early videos, I was actually, I had a Jeep, an old YJ, the
Mhm.
square headlight
Yeah.
Wrangler, and it was all jacked up. And I'd go out in the woods and go four wheeling and do videos of that. So the first couple years was doing that, and then I started getting more into shooting, and I started doing some shooting videos. So I do go back probably 10 or so years with the shooting videos, but I really didn't start getting real serious putting them up until probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
a lot of fun.
I got to tell people when I first started doing YouTube videos, and you'll know how this is.
Yep.
You're making videos and you've got like three people watching or whatever it is, and
Oh yeah.
but you were one of the first people on YouTube to give me a shout out and say, "Hey guys, go check him out." And that really means a lot when you first
Sure.
start
Yeah.
out. Have some
That's
people,
just the algorithm actually working the way it's supposed to.
yeah.
you know, you put up something that I'm actually going to be interested in, and it comes over, and I watch it, and it's pretty cool. So
Yeah, well, I've always appreciated that, and try to do that for other people as well. Well,
sure.
let's take a look at the Savage NRA match because this
All
is
right.
a pretty interesting rifle. I'm gonna um let me put up some pictures of this first,
Yeah.
so that people can get kind of a close look, and then we'll kind of show people ours and some of the differences. And
Yep.
you can talk a lot more about the. I'm not a Savage NRA collector, but they're
I'm an
definitely.
accumulator.
Yeah, well, yeah, me too. But they're neat guns. But let me pull this
Sure.
up. So here's the magazine, and if you ever purchase one of these, just know that a factory magazine like this is probably going to be worth more than what the rifle you're buying is.
Yeah,
These
if
things,
you're at a flea market and you see one of those in a bin or something, even if you don't have a Savage, buy it
yeah,
because they're
yeah,
worth more than the gun are.
for sure. Let me get back over here. So yeah, that's the magazine. They're pretty interesting. And even in the 19s, you'll see them with 23A on
Yep,
there.
yep.
And it's got that little knob there at the bottom because of how the magazine is
Yeah,
released
it goes
from,
right flush.
yeah, from the gun. You kind of push it forward and it pulls out, which we'll show that here in a minute.
Yep.
Um, and like you said earlier, you can get aftermarket
Yeah,
magazine.
here's my aftermarket. Just to
Yeah,
show everybody. The this I believe it was made by Triple K.
yeah,
You can find these on, and you're still going to spend some money on even the aftermarket one. Most Triple K mags aren't that expensive. They're $30 or $40, but you know it's like they say they know what they have, and you're going to spend even a little bit more for even the aftermarket one.
yeah, for sure.
It gets you up and running, and it doesn't look exactly the same, and it hangs out the bottom of the gun.
Well, you get a few extra shots with that one.
I think it's a 10 rounder. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the peep sight or aperture sight on mine. I
Yep.
believe these were Savage number 6. You might correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I don't have the nomenclature down as far as the Savage sighting. I know the Mossberg stuff really well, but as far as Savages go, I'm not I'm not very well versed in them. But
Yeah, I think it's a number 6, and then the front sight, which we'll see here in a minute, they called the
yeah,
number 5.
got this
These
little
these are,
shark fin here.
yes, that one right there, the marine inspired shark fin. This sight is terrible. I'm just gonna say that
It is.
it's
Yeah, it's tough to
flimsy.
find them. It's tough to find them with that still intact on there. So
Mhm.
they're either broken or gone.
Yeah. And we were talking about this before we came on and made a video earlier today to put some of this on target. And I
Yep.
went out and the very first shot didn't even hit the target. And I thought, what in the world? Well, when I had cleaned it, I had backed that windage screw out, and so the sight was all the way to the right. But we ended up getting it back on bullseye. But yeah, that's the aperture sight. Now you could get these with a Lyman sight, I do believe, from factory.
I haven't seen one of those.
Yeah, I haven't seen one. In my reading, I read that you could order a Lyman sight. It was later
I
on.
believe Savage had a later site as well, and I don't have one with the later Savage site either, but I believe there was a later production Savage site that would come on these as well.
Yeah. This is a picture of the mag in the trigger
Go ahead.
housing, and
Yep.
we'll talk about this a little bit later. But some of these the trigger guards were inletted on the
Yep.
early ones, and then later not inletted.
I have example of both of those.
And then this one shows the serial number on the bolt side.
And this
Yeah.
is still your gun here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just want to give people a quick close up, and then we'll run
Yep.
through yours. They've got that interesting little fire tab on the
Yeah, the safety
port side.
is like a rocker safety. It's
Right. And just some of the barrel stampings here. and a butt plate.
Yep. Does yours have the SVG stamped at the bottom, or does it have the Indian head?
I believe mine has the Indian head.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see.
This older one of mine has the Indian head on the bottom of it.
Yeah,
I never even paid much attention.
the
Except for I
Indian
just
head.
saw that in some pictures I was looking at, and so this newer one that I had, this is a couple years newer. This one just says SVG in a circle there. I don't know if you can see that well.
Okay, yeah.
So
I guess
this one
that's the
is
later one.
this one, as best I can tell, was probably like mid-30s. We could talk about that. I got some information as far as serial numbers go.
Yeah.
So this
Okay.
this is the one that's actually a little bit nicer of mine. It's almost 100% original,
Yeah.
except for the front peep sight or front globe sight.
Here is the bolt out of mine,
Yep. So the bolt with the
and there was some differences in those, which
so the earlier ones would have had a little like a little divot in the end, and then you would have went to that more like a mushroom cap on the
yeah.
back with the little bit later ones.
Here's the bolt face. The earlier ones had a single extractor, right, and
Yep.
a firing pin with two pokers on it.
So
This
this is my earlier one, and it is one firing pin. I know I have one of them here that does have a dual firing pin. Uh, no, the earlier one's the one with the dual firing pin. The newer one is just a single, larger
right, yeah,
hole.
like this one right here.
So I think it was the oldest ones. Let me see. This 23A is an older 23A. Let me look at that. That one has the double firing pin as well. So
I
this
think
is
it was up to the first up to 25,000 had double firing pin.
okay. That makes sense because they started serial number 25,000 started later in 23.
Mm-hmm.
From what I read, I actually just kind of wrote it down. So between 23 and 33, they made between 25,000 and 45,000.
Right.
Um,
And I think they came up with the speed lock feature on those guns as well.
yeah.
Cock on open.
And so this one is an older one here. It's got the divot in the back of the divot in the back of the bolt knob there, same as the other one I showed you.
Yeah, versus this mushroom.
The original magazine as well.
Yeah.
So that's the 23A. That's, like I said, an older one. That's probably a 1923 production unit.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and walk us through each of yours there, and
Okay.
maybe go oldest to newest if you
Yeah, that's
can.
what I was thinking. So this is my oldest one for sure. This is the 19 Savage NRA. They call it a Model 19. This one doesn't say Savage NRA or anything on it anywhere, which is kind of how you can tell it is the oldest one because they didn't start stamping that on there until after the first couple of years. So it just says manufactured by Savage Arms, and then it has a bunch of patent numbers on it.
Okay.
So there's no it doesn't say Savage NRA or Savage 19 anywhere on the gun. It does have the serial number on the back. A lot of people didn't think that these older ones had a serial number on them, but they're actually stamped around the circumference of the back of the receiver on the very oldest ones. What else is all right? So the ejection port, on these ones. So if you can see there, it's kind of pretty small and squared off as far as the actual ejection port where the round would sit in there. And I can show you the comparison between a newer one. Just bring it up here. So this is my other Savage 19, and you can see it's kind of really cut out pretty heavily and not squared off as much.
Yeah, and they did that because you could shoot these as a single shot. You could cock the bolt at the rear.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do it that way.
All right. What else about this one? So this one has the sling swivels on it still. I only have one with I think it's an original sling on my 23A, but this one does have the original shark fin on the front.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, this one's probably like a 19 or 20 production. And so that's the oldest one. And then I have a 23A, which is, I believe, my second oldest one, because it still has the serial number around the backside. And they didn't make many 23As with that serial number around the backside. They went to the serial number on the receiver in 23. So, but this one, so the 23s would have had a fin sight with a little, if you can see it, it's got a little piece of like ivory or something stamped, stuck on the end there. Very cool. So that's original.
And more of a sporter size.
It is, yeah. So it's got the schnabel little tip there. And somebody put a Weaver scope on it many years ago. This is a really old Weaver scope here.
Is that like a 330 or something?
I believe it's a 3X. No, I'm not sure what the model is. It's actually underneath, the model's underneath the ring here, but it actually has a post in it like an old German sniper rifle.
Oh yeah.
So it's a really old scope as well, probably from the 40s. Anyway,
I did a video on Weaver Scope a while back. It's a pretty interesting story about that company.
Yeah. I did a couple of videos a couple of years ago. Just they're entitled "Geeking Out to My Scope Collection." Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 was I was doing smaller scopes like that, and that's a good segue into this next one, which is actually got a scope that I can't fit in the frame here. So
yeah,
this one is actually a pretty cool gun. This is actually a 23C, which is not a 22 long rifle. It's actually a 32-20. So Savage made a 23A, which was 22 long rifle, 23B, which was 25-20, a 23C, which was a 32-20, and here's a 32-20 round.
Yeah.
For everybody to see. It's kind of an elongated, almost looks like a 38 special elongated.
I believe you could also order special order them in 22 short only.
So I didn't know this until today when I was doing a little bit of research on this particular one, that later in production, they made these from 23 to 41 or 42. Later in production, they actually made the 23C and 22 Hornet as well.
Oh, wow.
So you could get the, but this one has a very special magazine on it too. And we were talking about how rare the magazines are in the other ones. These are even more.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose that.
No doubt.
Never seen one of those for sale.
Yeah.
So, and that's stamped on the side saying it's good for 25-20 and 32-20. So right. I kind of went out of order, but I wanted to show that scope there. But this other one here is kind of my pride and joy of this particular collection. And this one is really, really nice shape.
Beautiful wood.
It's a Savage 19 NRA, and it has really, really nice looking wood. So like I was saying before, the only not original part is this globe sight. Oop, out of frame there. And it had, but as far as for me shooting peep sights, that globe sight is actually much better. I can shoot this at 50 yards and pretty much hit whatever I want to hit. But one does have the original Original magazine in the base plate here. And you were talking about the original ones were inletted, and then this one is standing proud of the wood.
Yeah, so it would have been a later gun.
Yeah. So this one is a 37,000 serial number, so it's kind of halfway in between that 25 and 45. And 45 dropped off at 33. They actually started making a 19-33 in 1933. So this one's probably somewhere in the middle between 23 and 33. Because it's about halfway in between the 25 and 45,000 serial numbers. But yeah, that is. I was telling you before we started up that I've been doing a series of taking peep sight guns like this that I've had, and taking them out and doing mostly shooting off a bench rest, but some of them we were doing actually laying down prone shooting.
Mm-hmm.
But all open sights, shooting at 50 yards at a circle target that's probably 4 or 5 inches in diameter, which is a pretty good challenge for 50 yards with open sights.
Yeah.
And, I've been doing pretty good, but I've done quite a few other manufacturers, but I haven't done a Savage yet, so I'm going to take this one out and do that one this weekend.
That'll be fun. A lot of people don't realize that at the turn of the century, match shooting and competitive shooting was a pretty common thing. I mean, people weren't sitting at home watching TV; they were out doing things, and these kinds of rifles were what they were using.
Yeah, and from what I've read, these ones were very, very competitive.
Yes,
they were very competitive, especially with shooting against other guns with open sights. This one, like I said, is probably I said late 30s before. I meant late 20s, mid to late 20s. I actually have a couple of Winchesters that are from this era as well, and I'd really like to take this out and do a head-to-head challenge with this. And I've got a pre-A52 that is in really nice shape like this one. And again, the only difference between well, I actually do have the original front sight for my Winchester 52. It's in a bag and came with the gun, but it also has a Lyman 17A like this one on the front. So
yeah, I was reading. It's funny you bring that up. When these came out, so Winchester 52 was about $38.
Oh, really?
These cost $20. So nearly half the price.
I could see that, though. This Winchester's had the name recognition as far as having the accuracy goes.
Yeah. Well, I tell you that one of the main reasons I bought this rifle, and I bought it at Wanamaker's last year, is that it was just so clean. I mean, it's been really well kept, and
I did notice that on your in your video how nice it looked.
Just a neat piece. It's got, of course, a couple safe.
Yours has got the shark fin front sight still, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blue wings, just almost 100%. And fun.
If I were to ever go and try to sell these, I probably would swap the shark fin off this other one that isn't quite as nice, put it on this one just so it would be 100% original. But as far as for me, for shooting, this is the way it really is the best setup. So
yeah, having that the hood on the front is the way to go. So yeah, neat old guns. You guys leave some comments if you've ever owned one of these or shot one. They're really neat.
I'd like to see some comments. And like I said, I'm not 100% expert on these. Some of my numbers might be a little off, and I would really welcome people to comment and correct us as we make little mistakes like that, because
absolutely
all I can find is what's on the interwebs, and you can believe everything there. So
yeah, for sure. Well, let's take a look at the Remington 572 Fieldmaster.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big fan of the the 500 series. The kind of post DuPont merger. They made a lot of neat rifles. I'm going to throw some pictures up here just real quick so people can
While
get
you're
some.
doing that, I'm just going to say a couple things. So
Yeah.
two of my big genres of 22s that I really love to collect is pump action 22s and bolt action vintage 22s.
Yeah.
And I used to have a large collection of semi-automatics, and I just kind of bored with those and sold most of those off. I did keep a couple that we'll maybe look at in a little while, but
Now this one
the
here,
pump actions and the bolt actions are just where really get me going.
yeah, they're fun. This one here is not in great shape. A buddy of mine had a table at Wanamaker's last year, and somebody traded it to him, and he knew I didn't have one, so
Yeah.
he made me a fair deal on them. One neat thing about them is that they are grooved, which we'll look at the 121 here in a minute
Yeah.
because they're both Fieldmasters, but very different guns. So yeah, there's the close-ups, just so everybody can kind of just have a little peek there.
What's neat about these is you can load them up with, you could put in a short, a long rifle,
Yeah,
and just
the
vary them
22,
back and forth.
22 rounds of
And
short.
it'll cycle them no problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It won't. And I've actually tested that in this one, and it definitely works. They got what it's called a floating chamber. I don't know exactly how that works, but it works.
I was looking to see who designed the 572, and
Yeah.
I haven't been able to find anything definitive. I need to talk to the guys over at Remington Society of America. But the
It
best
doesn't
name,
say it in the. It doesn't say it. I've got the Remington 22 book.
yeah, I haven't been able to look into it yet. It wouldn't work on my deal,
Well,
but
I'll look in
um,
there late. I'll look in there later, and if I find it, I'll put it in the comments on this podcast once you post it up.
Mike Walker is the best name I've seen so far.
Yeah.
The 572, for those who aren't familiar, released in 1954. Remington wanted some semi-autos that looked kind of like the 870.
Yeah, the 5.52. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
speed
did have
man.
one of those. It was a nice gun too, and it would also cycle the shorts and longs,
Yeah,
long rifles.
exact
So
same, exact same shape.
yeah, and it would
And
cycle anything you throw into it.
absolutely, one of my favorite semi-autos of all
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
But yeah, you do see a lot of similarities in those guns, and it was
yeah. They
it was
really
a
look a
cost.
lot like the 870 pump action
Yeah, it was a
shotgun.
cost saving measure. I mean, DuPont was all about making money, and that doesn't make these bad guns at all. They run really really well. But yeah,
They've
um,
got a really good collectible following too.
yeah. Well, they're affordable.
Yeah,
They don't cost an arm and a leg. This is the older Fieldmaster, the 121, and you see this is a steel receiver. It had to be milled and drilled and tapped, and
yeah,
all those expensive um, manufacturing processes. Heavier gun.
yeah. Well,
Really,
in
these
my
are
case,
really
it's by
high.
far a heavier gun, but we'll talk about that in a minute, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah,
Oh,
the 572s, wonderful guns. I know you have a couple interesting ones there. So tell us about that.
so the one that you have is a standard version, which, like you
Mhm.
said, is a great gun, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It'll run all day long and is a fantastic gun. But what the one I have here is one of a series, and I don't know if you got that picture that I sent you. We could throw that up.
Yeah, let me grab that. Go ahead,
Um,
keep talking. I'll find it.
but this is a 572 airweight, they called it, and they had a series of these, and they had this one's the buckskin tan colored version, and it's got this kind of bronze colored. So there's the picture. So you got the top one's the buckskin tan, then they had a crow wing black and a teal wing blue as the bottom one. And this one's the most common one, and they're all very pretty much rare to find. This is the most common one. The black one's the next most common one, and the blue ones are like hen's teeth. Absolutely almost impossible to find. I do have a couple friends in my collecting circle that do have all three of them. I'm kind of jealous. But this one here actually just came into a local shop, and the manager called me right away, and I said, yep, put it on, set it aside for me. But this one is in really nice shape. It's not 100% perfect, but it's in really, really good condition. This one was made in 1958. Let's see, I wrote it down here. May of 1958. And what's the distinction with these ones, and they call them the airweights, just like the 572 that you have, it has an aluminum receiver, but instead of having an all steel barrel that runs up here, the barrel is actually an aluminum sleeve with just a thin steel liner that runs down the middle.
Yeah.
And these weigh about a pound less than the one that you have. I used to have one of those, and I unfortunately I let it go, but I could tell you there was a drastic difference in the weight.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just nothing to it.
Aluminum barrel.
You can see where I'm holding it right there, and it's just balances really nice.
I bet it does. That's one thing about when they went to like the aluminum receivers, kind of changed the balance of the guns. Of course, they operated just as well.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see the aluminum around the outside edge there, and then the steel.
Yeah.
Might be hard to see on the camera. But so the other ones that I have, so this is my 572, and I sent you another picture of my actual pump collection. I don't know.
Let me grab
that one up there. Like I was saying, my two favorite things in 22s are bolt action guns and pump action guns, and so the collection that Jeremy's going to put up there in a minute for us is it's actually a few years old. I've sold a few of those and bought a few others, but I think there's like 24 or 25 guns there total. But there's everything from Savages in there, Mossbergs. There's some really obscure stuff by a company called Noble. A lot of Remingtons, Savages, Mossbergs, Stevens or two. Stevens, they call them visible loaders, but a lot of people call them miserable loaders because if they're not tuned right, they run terrible. I have two of those, and they run perfect. So if you put them together right, they work great. So, but
is there a Colt Lightning in there somewhere?
I don't have a Colt Lightning.
No.
I've been searching for one of those.
I thought maybe one of those was. I saw one the other day. Well, they had it at the shop, but he said it ran terribly, and
I've had a couple in my hand, and I just didn't have the bucks for them. They're four figures every time you see one, even in tough shape. So even 10, 15 years ago, they were, high threes, low fours for even a rough shaped one. So, but so what we have here is my Remington 121. This one is date code of XWW or KWW, which is May of 1950. So, did you happen to say what yours was?
Let me look. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to, let's see. It's a CK.
Okay, so I don't have a printout of the date code. It's actually on my phone.
CK is going to make it April 41.
Okay, yep. So it's a real early 121. That's cool.
Yeah. And this
is the last one I actually brought out here to show is I used to have three Model 12s, and I actually sold 2 of them, and this is the only one that I kept. But this is a nice early example of a Model 12C or 12A. 12C would have had a crescent butt plate, and I had one of those, and I sold it like a fool. But
Yeah, I know where one is right now. I've been punting it.
That one wasn't in it. So this one's got a lot of good patina on it, but that 12C I had was in pretty tough shape, and it didn't run real well. This one runs like a Swiss watch, and it's got this really interesting red butt plate, but it is very, very old, and I'm very wondering if anybody from the Remington Society could tell me if
that's factory.
Yeah.
Huh.
It really, really looks old, and it looks.
Well, they'll be watching this, so I'm sure somebody will
Yep.
chime in and let me know.
And this one's not the earliest production, but it was made in 1928 is what I dated this one at. So pretty cool. So this is the only 12 that I still currently have, but it is a really, really nice one.
Yeah, guys, if you're into these old Remingtons like we are, check out Remington Society of America. They're a great group of guys and a ton of knowledge over there.
I'll definitely be. I didn't even know about them until I saw your podcast the other day. And
yeah, well, I'm trying to help them get out there because they really are a good group, and they have the foremost experts in Remington. It's $50 for the first year and $45 each year after. You get 4 quarterly journals, like you can see back there on my shelf, which are top-notch journals. They're not the magazines you buy off the magazine rack at the store. They're high quality, good information, good pictures. So check out Remington Society of America.
Definitely gonna be hitting up George and getting myself in the running for that. So
yeah, good deal.
So one of the things about these is they are all a takedown model. So there's actually a thumb wheel right here. You can take that thumb wheel out and take them in half, so you can stuff them in a backpack, and they won't be so long.
And easy to clean too.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to clean too. But that's I really do. I like being able to shoot these.
They're fun.
Yeah, and they run quick. If you lose count, you always get a dry fire at the end.
Oh yeah. It's hard to keep up to 22 rounds.
Yep. So, how are we doing on time? I don't know if we have time to show these last 2 that I brought out here.
Yeah, bring it on.
All right. I saw you had done a video on your Model 63, shifting gears here a little bit. Your Winchester Model 63.
Yeah.
A week or so ago, and I thought it'd be fun to bring mine out and show you. I actually have 2 different guns to show here.
I couldn't even get it to cycle one round.
This one runs really nice. I wish I could lend a bit of advice as far as what to do. Does yours cycle pretty easy like that? Mine's really
most of the time. Every once in a while, it gets stuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
It might just need a real good cleaning. I don't know.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier, I haven't had it on the bench and messed around with it.
I've opened this one up. This is a takedown as well. You take the screw out. I've opened it up and cleaned it out inside, but I really haven't done much to it. It's not in perfect shape. It's got a pretty good little crack in the handle over on this side.
Yeah.
So this one, I did find some Winchester serial number data, and with the serial number that's on this one is a first year of production for 63, which actually was 1936. I don't know if they did that on purpose, just took the numbers and flipped them around, but 1936 was the first year of production for these. So this is a semi-automatic 22 long rifle, and it feeds from the butt into this little groove in the side here. And I had asked you on your video if you had ever gotten a chance to play with one of these. This is the forerunner to that one.
Yeah.
This one is a Savage model 1903, and you can tell right away because this one's got this crescent here. The 63 did not have, but the 1903 had the crescent, and then pretty much the same gun running down. But the distinction here is this one actually shoots a very, very proprietary round that Winchester came up with before they actually released this gun.
Yeah.
Because back in 1903, all of the 22 long rifles were still made with black powder, or at least primarily made with black powder. And if you've ever cleaned a black powder gun, you know how gummy and nasty that can get real quick. And Winchester just knew that their semi-automatics would not run with black powder ammunition. So this is their very first semi-automatic gun. They made a proprietary, they called it the Winchester 22 automatic round. It looks a lot like a, I do have a picture in my phone of the 22 long rifle sitting next to, I meant to send it to you. Sorry, I didn't. It was for a long time a very hard to find ammunition for it. They didn't make ammo since like the 40s, and you would spend hundreds of dollars to get one box of 50. But a couple years ago, about 10 years ago now, Aguila actually made a production run of the ammunition for this, and it really brought these things back to life. And now you can still find it. It's still listed as a current production item on their catalog. I don't know if they're actually producing it or just have it still in stock. I have several bricks of it here. I usually take this out about once a summer, shoot a box of 50 through it and clean it up and put it away. But this one actually is a first year production as well. It's got a really low 4-digit serial number on it. And per the serial number list,
they kind of hung on to trying to make that round work for a little too long. I mean, long rifle had really taken the market, and they hung on trying to make that work for.
Yeah, they made these guns right up into the 30s. They still actually made them past putting out the 63, but the 63 quickly put an end to this.
Yeah.
But there was tens of thousands of them made. So, and it's the only gun that was ever made that it was ever chambered in that 22 auto. So that's a really interesting distinction.
Not a great business move.
So it really was really surprising that they ever somebody made a new production run of it.
Yeah.
I got some other things like 32 rim fires and 25 rim fires. There's hundreds and hundreds of those guns that I've passed up over the years because there's no ammunition for them. Yeah. I sent every 6 months I send an email to Aguila. Hey, you made the 22 auto. Why don't you make some 32 rim fire? I'd really love to shoot some of these guns there's one gun store that's got probably 10 or 15 of them sitting on the shelf, and I just refuse to buy them because I can't get any ammunition for them. But if Aguila ever came out with ammo, I'd probably buy everything they had in the store.
2520 is one that, I can find it, but good golly, it costs a fortune.
This box of 3220 cost me about $60. So
yeah, I paid $80 a box for green and gold Remingtons.
Yeah,
they're new production, but man, that's high.
Yeah. But, well, it's been a great time chatting with you. I hope we can do this again another day.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been very enjoyable. And yeah,
how are you as far as Mossbergs and stuff go? I'd really love to get out.
We can
talk for 2 hours about Mossbergs, but
yeah, maybe we do Mossbergs next time. Man.
Sure.
Yeah, of course. You remember I bought one, and I borrowed it, and I was thinking about buying it. I've got a history with Mossberg. We'll get into that when we talk about it. But man, that's a first year production gun. And I said, oh, yeah, it is a T-bolt. And so I did end up buying that one. I've got it.
Yeah, so, 1949 with the T-bolt. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I have all but one of the T-bolts.
Oh, really?
There was a 142 MB, which was and the Mannlicher stock all the way out to the end. I haven't found one of those yet with the T-bolt. I have a 142 MB that's like a 50 or 51 that has the round bolt, but I don't have the T-bolt version of it. So, but those are like, I don't know, they made very little of those, but they made a 142, a 146, and there's another one that's escaping me, but they made 4 different models with the T-bolt handle, and I have 3 of the 4. So
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember exactly which one mine is now, but
yeah,
yeah, let's do that. Maybe next week or something we can get on here and talk about Mossberg.
great, yeah, that'd be fun.
All right, buddy. Thanks again so much for coming on, and appreciate you.
Yeah, had a great time. Take care.
Thank you. You too.